Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's session, the third episode of the SIS webinar series for 2020. Welcome to today's session. I would like to just highlight a few logistics for today's call. We will be accepting questions on today's call. On the right side of your screen, you will see your questions box. Please enter your questions, as we would love to hear from you during the session, as we would answer them at the end of the session. Please make sure when you're asking your question, indicate the slide or the topic for easy reference so that we can best assist you in answering the question. We also want to let you know that this session will be recorded as we continue into the first slide of our presentation today. We'll kick off with the legal reminders. Just a couple reminders for everyone on today's call. Participants are reminded that the live streaming of this webinar is not permitted to anyone outside of attendance, except by and with express permission and knowledge of IATA. Unauthorized recording of the session is also prohibited, and we will record the session and share the link afterwards to all participants of the session, as well as post it on the IATA SIS website media page. As we move on to the agenda for today's call, today's session will be covering the member profile. As most of you may know, the member profile is your control panel or settings panel in your SIS, when you log into SIS, that allows you to enable and configure your e-invoicing options to tailor to your business needs. Today, we're going to cover a few topics, all the tabs of the member profile and what they mean to you, such as your SIS member details, location IDs, contacts and management, e-billing, which are optional services, the 4 billing categories, passenger, cargo, UATP, and miscellaneous, as well as clearinghouse membership details, which may be ICH or ACH. We'll end with final comments and, of course, answer your questions that we've received during the webinar. We're about to kick off as I pass on to my colleague, Sam, who will lead us through the first section of today's webinar.
Thank you very much, Vivek, and thank you everyone for joining us today. So to begin, we start off with the Member Details tab. Starting off in the Member Details tab, this provides information to the SIS member regarding profile details. It includes important details such as member codes, legal commercial name, location details, bank details for bilateral settlement, and membership details. Here's a screenshot of the Member Details tab and divide into 4 different sections for explanation. So to begin, we zoom into member information. Member information, there are 5 different points of information. There's member prefix, designator, member legal name, member commercial name, and the logo. The member prefix, member designator, and member legal name are informational only. So any discrepancies here, please contact us via the IATA customer portal. The member commercial name and the logo is editable by the user, being you. To edit the logo, you just simply click the no logo box, choose a JPEG, and upload it. Once uploaded, this will appear on all built invoices from this location. Continuing to membership details. Here, this informational piece concludes with membership status, entry date, IATA membership, ICH member, and ACH member. Continuing to the main location details. This shows the main location, or in other words, as headquarter details, where you bill and receive invoices. In addition to the logo and company name, it is used to generate the legal invoice. Here you have the ability to edit company registration ID, tax/VAT registration, and the address. Note, any edits made here will only take place the following billing period. Moving on, we look at bank details for bilateral settlement. Here, this is informational only. It includes bank account name, bank account number, branch code, bank code, IBAN, SWIFT, bank name, and currency code. This information can only be edited by IATA by request. The SIS bank detail form is available on the SIS website. It must be filled out and submitted via the IATA customer portal. Once filled in, invoices generated from this location will have the bank information at the bottom. Here on this fictitious invoice, we see the IBAN, SWIFT, bank account number, bank account name, and the reference invoice number. To conclude the Member Details tab, a few things to remember. Member information and member detail are informational only. Edits can only be made by the IATA participation team. We recommend maintain location details. Edits here will only take effect the following billing period. And for good practice, maintain bank details for bilateral settlement. Moving on to the next tab, locations. In locations, the user has the ability to add and manage a limited number of invoices. They could control from to which location invoices are sent and or received. And it includes features such as miscellaneous output files specific to location, tax reporting location details. As an example, this helps you create invoices from another location that is not your main headquarters. For example, if you operate in other countries and wish to bill locally. Here's a screenshot of the Locations tab, and for explanation, we've divided it into 3 different boxes. Moving into the first one, location details. Once a new location is either selected or added, it's similar to the main location details. You can edit the legal name, commercial name, address, tax/VAT, and additionally, like the previous one, edits made here only take place the following billing period. Continuing, we look at miscellaneous output files specific to a location. Now, with the new selected location or added location, you can choose a unique INET account to send invoices to. Now, this will give you control over invoice distribution internally, depending on location. Allows you to route invoices from certain locations to certain INET accounts. Moving on to the ended locations, we look at invoice footer and bank details. The invoice footer is text that will appear below of invoices billed from this location. If you so choose to add text in here, it will appear at the bottom of the invoice. Additionally, we look at bank details for bilateral settlement. As seen in member details, information here can only be edited by the bank request form found on the SIS website. Once returned to us and filled in, information will appear at the bottom of the invoice as per this example. To conclude locations, a couple of things to remember. You have the ability to view, edit, and add locations and their details. Again, edits made to location details will only take effect the following billing period. Keep locations up to date. It's highly recommended to keep location and the respective bank details up to date. Lastly, the ability to edit footer of all invoices billed from a chosen location is done in the Locations tab. Moving on, I will pass it on to my colleague Nina.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here today with us. My name is Nina Osmani, and we will continue now with the Contacts tab. As you will see, the Contacts tab, it allows you to have control of all the contacts and assign them a specific function in SIS. Contacts will be your designated email IDs who are responsible for a particular function in SIS. As you can see here, contacts will receive automatic email alerts on invoicing, on very important invoicing and settlement subjects. What you can do in this tab is search an existing contact, delete or add a new contact. Additionally, you can view and edit contact assignments, replace or copy contact assignments. This is how you will start with searching an existing contact. You can search by first name, last name, email ID, or staff ID. Additionally, you can delete an existing contact by choosing the delete button that you will see on the left side of your screen. This is also to remind you that in this first screen, you could see up to 5 contacts. However, if you have more contacts in your company, you might choose to change page in order to see the rest of the contacts, as you can see in the bottom of this screenshot. Moving forward, we will see how you can add a new contact by choosing the corresponding options of adding a new contact. You have to mandatorily indicate their email address, the first name and last name. You can group them by indicating the staff ID, the location ID, address, and please make sure that the active checkbox is checked so that you can save the contact correctly. After you have added a new contact, you can see here their contact assignments or the existing contacts that you have in your database. Note here that the contact can be assigned a very specific function, such as, for example, a correspondence contact, which is very important for the members to start a correspondence. So it is mandatory to have a correspondence contact in this case to start a correspondence, and for the rest of the members to start a correspondence against you. We will give you a detailed presentation and specific of all these assignments in an upcoming webinar, so stay tuned for that. And here we will begin in the view all contact assignment with the group. As you can see from the drop-down menu, you can group your contacts and you can search them by the billing category specific, the clearinghouse, invoicing, member related, and youth member. Moving on, you will see that in the subgroup, you can search your contacts once you have, for example, the group as billing category specific by cargo, miscellaneous, tax, or UATP. This helps you have your contacts grouped per billing category so that for a better control of the contacts that you have in SIS. And finally, you have here the type of contacts, which can be informational or processing. The informational contacts will be, for example, a miscellaneous general contact, can be your PAX manager, and they will receive advisory email alerts on important SIS and ICH notifications. Whereas on the other side, the processing contacts are those that will interact with the system and will be those contacts that you can delegate to receive system processing activities. For example, an important contact will be your miscellaneous dispute contact that will receive very important notifications on the miscellaneous dispute process that we will also mention in the miscellaneous tab coming up in the billing categories. What you can do here is, as an example, you can add manually one by one, for example, a contact to receive email notification when invoices fail validations, when output files are generated, when you have bilateral invoices that are received, that are delivered in your SIS. So this makes you have a better control of the contacts and what they receive per billing category, for example, or for ICH. Moving on, you will see that once, for example, you want a contact to replace another contact, for example, an employee of your company is not working with you anymore, you can replace their contact to a new, their contact assignments to a new contact. So as you can see here, contact 1 can be replaced by contact 2. Please note that this can be done to different email addresses, so you cannot use the same email address to replace assignments from one to another. Moving forward, you will see that another option that SIS offers you under the contact tab is that you can copy contact assignments. So if you have a new employee in your company, or if you want 2 employees to have the same contact assignments, you can copy their assignments from one to another without having to go one by one, knowing that these contacts have been are going to have the same assignments. And to wrap up, it is important to remind you to maintain the relevant personnel to receive the necessary email alerts, because as we saw, they will receive very important notifications for SIS and ICH matters. It is important to maintain also the relevant personnel as information contacts per billing category. As said before, the informational contacts will receive informational issues from SIS. And these informational contacts will also be shared with all the SIS participants through the member contact report. So it is important to have them up to date so that the rest of the members can see which are your informational contacts. Finally, we remind you to ensure that all email addresses are correct at all times for the contact profiles. And we would like to remind you, as we said before, that contacts and user management will also be analyzed and presented to you in an upcoming webinar next month. So please stay tuned for that. Now that we have covered contact, we will pass to the next tab, which is under your member profile, the e-billing tab. And these are the optional services that we offer in SIS. The configuration for e-billing services can be viewed on e-billing tab. And these services, note, that will be activated by us. And the activation will be done upon a request of the form that you can send us via the IATA customer portal. And once we receive the form, we will activate, according to your request, the legal archiving for you and the digital signature that will appear in your invoices. You can also manage the receipt of reference data files via the specific IINet channels per billing category. Let's go into more details. the digital signature, if activated, it will show up like this in your SIS, and SIS has the digital signature compliant with 44 countries and offers this optional service in collaboration with a third-party provider. As mentioned, you can request this enabling by sending us the form via the customer portal, and once activated, you can configure the applicability per country and invoices for your payable and receivable invoices. Additionally, as you can see here, you can manage the general terms documents by uploading the PDF document in this part. And additionally, in the end, you can choose to have the default invoice footer that will be your text, or it will be overridden by the location tab as explained before. Moving on, you have the option to request us via the form the legal archiving of your invoices. This is also provided in partnership with a third service provider. As before mentioned, the legal archiving is an optional service that allows you to archive your documents for legal and audit purposes. If you are subscribed to this service, the legal archiving service status will be activated. As you can see in this screenshot, the option can be given once activated by us for each billing category. You can choose to have the legal archiving of your receivable and payables, and additionally also your listing documents. Finally, it is important also to have, if you want to receive reference data files, which include the legal name and address of all SIS participants for all their location IDs. You can also choose to receive full data or only updates and complete informational contact as informed before. So these reference data files can be chosen to be received on your IINet accounts per billing category for a better control of these files: passenger, cargo, miscellaneous, and UATP. Once we have covered this, we would like to remind you, as a wrap-up of the e-billing optional services, that the digital signature application services can be activated upon request, together with the legal archiving for audit purposes. And we would like to also remind you that SIS has a purging policy in place that is indicated in the ISPG chapter 8.9. Therefore, your invoices and your files will stay in the system for a specific time. And for this, we kindly invite you to make use of the legal archiving, because you can archive your documents for audit purposes, and you can download them from general legal archive retrieval download retrieve files. Please note that this is applicable only for future invoices, as it does not have a retroactive effect. Finally, if you have this option activated, your invoices will be archived in the system for a period of 10 years. And as we saw before, you can choose also to have the receipt of reference data output files in the corresponding billing category in your IINet account. I will leave it now to my colleague Sam to explain you the first billing categories: passenger, cargo, and UATP. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nina. And prior to jumping to the billing categories, I'd like to remind everyone of a comment that was made earlier in the presentation, how the member details tab is, whether it be the configuration or settings tab. Now, when we look into the passenger and cargo and UATP and miscellaneous, these tabs can be seen as the settings of how invoices, both sent and received, interact with your profile. So to begin, passenger. In passenger, you have the ability to select validation preferences, whether it be reject a file or invoice in error, future billing submissions allowed, online corrections allowed. You have the ability to configure options for output files, manage blocks for TAC billing, and information regarding certification status for member input files. Here's a screenshot of the passenger tab. And to begin, we look at validations. Validations, your first choice is you can either reject a file in error or reject an invoice in error. As example, if you have reject a file in error and you submit a file with 10 invoices and one of the 10 has an error, the whole file will be rejected. If you have reject invoice in error, and again, you submit a file with 10 invoices, and one invoice has an error, 9 will be processed via SIS, and the other one will be rejected in error. Continuing on to resubmission of failed invoices. It allows you to have the ability to resubmit the same invoice number that was previously failed without deleting the original file. Continuing on to future billing submissions. This gives the user the ability to submit a file around a month earlier as per the SIS and ICH calendar. Lastly, we look at online correction allowed. If your R2 file has error correctable, you're able to correct the error in SIS without having to resubmit any files. Moving on, we look at sampling, value determination, and auto-billing. For members who participate, they can view the information in these boxes. Continuing on to output files. Output files are files that include all billed invoices. Processable data for payable invoices, accept or reject for data processing and data processing purposes. Now, 2 reminders for this. These informational files are automated. They'll generate once per billing period per billing category. Due to this, we recommend to archive these files as they cannot be retrieved retroactively. Moving along to offline archive outputs, also known as OARs. These, while similar to the output files, they contain copy of invoices, the PDFs, supporting docs, memos, digital signatures, and again, these OARs are generated automatically if the correct settings are selected. They are generated per billing period, per billing category. Again, we strongly recommend to archive these on your own system for audit purposes, as they will be purged from SIS after 90 days. Any edits made here will only take effect after 24 hours. Moving on to manage blocks for tax billing. Here, the user has the ability to either block YQ or wire tax codes. This can be done for either all members or specific members. If you choose to block specific members, a setup block for tax billing block will open up, and you can choose who to block, and once saved, it will only take effect the next billing period. Moving on, we look at certification and migration details. Here, there are 8 different transaction types and 2 different file formats. If you wish to be certified for something which you are not already certified for, testing must be done via Sandbox using IANet. If you wish to learn more about the certification process, please see Chapter 6 of the SIS Sign-Up Guide. Continuing on to cargo and UATP. These 2 categories had many similarities with the previous mentioned passenger, but we'd like to highlight only a couple. As seen before, you have the ability to edit validations. It includes information about certification, and you have the ability to control output file formats. Here's a screenshot of the cargo tab. Again, validation, output file, offline archive outputs, and certification and migration details. Everything is the same from PAX. Control everything the same way. Please make sure your output files are configured correctly. Moving on to UATP, again, all things equal, except unique to UATP is the legal services located in the green box in the screenshot. You have the ability to ignore UATP invoices from the digital signature process. As we conclude these 3 billing categories, things to remember. Again, you have the ability to select validation preferences. Edits made to the output files would take effect the following billing period. And here you can ensure file and manage your YR, YQ billing blocks based on your interline agreements in order to prevent any unnecessary rejections. Now I'll be passing on to my colleague Nina for miscellaneous.
Thank you, Sam. We will now cover the last of the billing categories, which is the miscellaneous, and you will see it under your member profile tab. This billing category offers you a wide range of options to choose, and they can be immediate or for the next period. This changes. As we covered for the list of billing categories, the validations for miscellaneous will be the same. You will have the online correction allowed, the supporting documents, and the future billing submissions. We will cover the output files, and we will cover some specific to miscellaneous category, such as the daily payable bilateral invoices, the location-specific output files, and the payment overdue auto reminders. For miscellaneous, also you will have the opportunity to see that the OARs can also be an option. This is how your miscellaneous tab would look like. You will see here the main presentation of the miscellaneous tab. So you have in the first part the validations, the output file, the CSV listings that we will cover, the daily payable bilateral, and the validations on acceptable delay for your payable bilateral invoices. You will see, as we saw before, that, as mentioned before, with the validations, you can choose how the system will treat your input file. So if it will reject the file in error in case of a validation failure, or if it will reject that specific invoice in error. It allows you the resubmission of failed invoices, as we saw for PAX and cargo. You have the opportunity of the online correction and the supporting documents. You can add additional file types to your supporting documents that are different from those that we offer in the ISPG. And you can also choose the future billing submissions that it is allowed also for the miscellaneous category. Moving on, we will analyze now the output files that you find in the miscellaneous. Output billing files, as we said, it's the file that is generated per billing period. And please note that in miscellaneous, you will only have your payable invoices in XML format. The on behalf of that you see as the next option, billing invoice submitted on behalf of the member, indicates if you require a copy of the invoice files submitted on your behalf to SIS, such as, for example, can be invoices from IATA or UATP. You also have the opportunity to have your daily IXMLs for your receivables, and you can have them in an XML file of all the invoices that have been issued via IS Web manually. So all those invoices that you have entered in SIS manually can be received if you choose this option. Can be received in an XML file, to rephrase that. Now, you have also the opportunity to have daily payment updates for your receivable invoices and daily payment updates for your payable invoices. Moving forward, we will see that in miscellaneous, you also have the option to receive your OAR files, as my colleague Sam mentioned before. These output files can be made available depending on the configuration of the member profile as billed or billing entity, and you can choose to have invoice PDF, listing, supporting documents, digital signature. They will be received with your OAR files. Please note that when you make this option active, it will be active for the next period according to the SIS calendar. All the specifications on the output files can also be found, as mentioned in the previous slide, in the ISPG chapter 12. Moving on, we will go to a very specific and a difference that miscellaneous offers from the rest of the billing categories, that you have the option here to receive copies of your miscellaneous bilateral invoices on a daily basis. This is helpful to you, to your member, because you might have a better control of your bilateral invoices, and it's on a daily basis, which allows you to receive them within 24 hours, instead of waiting for the billing output generation that goes by billing period, as indicated in the SIS ICH calendar. Additionally to the daily delivery, you might want to also receive the daily offline archive outputs and your daily IS XML files. Please note that in order to receive these other two, you need to activate the daily delivery as shown in this specific part of the miscellaneous. Moving on, another different and additional file type that miscellaneous category offers you are the CSV listings. You can require them as a billing entity or as a billed entity. Also note that the CSV listing, when you are a billed entity, can be reused to initiate a dispute, as indicated in a previous webinar that we offered to the industry with a new dispute process that we have in place in SIS. Apart from the CSV listing, we have the dispute files. These are the dispute output file to billing member for all the pending credit notes after a dispute. Additionally, you have the dispute output document package that will have the CSV of the disputed items and the supporting documents that can be optional. And finally, you have the dispute review file via IINet that you can choose. This allows you to, for your internal checks, to send this review file to the other members that will check your disputes. Finally, as we saw in contacts, you can also choose a miscellaneous dispute contact that can receive an email on these files also. So therefore, it is important that you set up your contacts correctly, as we mentioned before. Another specific for miscellaneous is the default and specific location for miscellaneous payable invoices. The first one, the default location for miscellaneous payable original invoices and credit notes, allows you to define a default location ID for miscellaneous payable original invoices and credit notes per billing member, and as you can see, per location. By clicking on the billing member specific default location, you will see this option. Additionally, you can choose to have location-specific output files. This will give you the opportunity to receive a copy of output files of a specific location under your main location ID for a better control of your files. Finally, a very important feature that miscellaneous offers and that we kindly invite you to make use of it are the payment overdue reminders. These are reminders that you can choose only if you are participating in the payment status functionality, only if you have that activated. So these are email alerts that will be sent to the billed parties when the payment status of an invoice is marked as payment overdue. These alerts can be sent, as you can see here, you can send up to 8 alerts, and the first alert will be sent 30 days after the payment overdue of that invoice, and the second will be sent again after 30 days with the 30 days option. Finally, you can miscellaneous allows you also the validation on the invoice date. So this allows you to control the acceptable delay between the invoice and the actual date when the invoice is submitted in the system. If you enable it, you will see, as we zoom in, how to manage acceptable delays per billing member and the acceptable delay in days. And as a wrap up for this, we would like to remind you that some of the edits that you do in the miscellaneous tab have an immediate will be of immediate change, but others will require you to save them for a future update that will be pending for a future period. In order to see and to have a better control if you have a future update for a future period, you might want to see the exclamation mark marked in yellow that will appear in that specific category or option that you have chosen for a future period. So it is good from time to time to check this in order to make sure what changes are upcoming for the next periods. And to wrap up the miscellaneous tab, which is a very important one, and things to remember, we invite you to enable the daily delivery of your miscellaneous payable bilateral invoices for a better control of your bilateral invoices and in order to be up to date with your payments. To configure the required output files for miscellaneous invoices, you can configure daily, weekly, by location specific or non-location specific. You have your daily payment updates. And of course, as we saw before, you can enable the CSV listing. That is an important feature, as we said before, because you can reuse it to initiate a dispute. And the dispute output files that, as a reminder, you can also set up your miscellaneous dispute contact. We also finally remind you to make use of the payment overdue auto reminders, which is a very helpful tool for the auto reminders of those payments that are overdue from your billed members. Once that we have finished with the miscellaneous tab, we will go to the last two tabs that we have in SIS, which are the ICH and ACH tabs. Please note that the ICH and ACH tabs are only informational. You will see here the details of your membership. So your membership details will show. It's your ICH and ACH membership status, your ICH zone, ICH category, and the aggregators, list of aggregated members and aggregated by N type. This is how your ICH tab looks like. You will see your ICH membership status. It can be live or not, aggregated by and aggregator. And as you can see, as said before, in order to activate your ICH membership status, if you're not live in ICH, you have to contact us because this is only informational to you. Finally, the last tab is ACH, and you will see the same information, the ACH member details, ACH clearance, and exceptions. It is important to remember, as said before, that these tabs are informational only to you, and you can see your membership status and details. As a kind reminder, it is also important that you know the ICH zone because that you are participating if you are live in ICH, because this will determine the allowed clearance currency, and the application of the ICH zone rules can additionally be found in the corresponding IS record structure. Finally, I will leave it to my colleague Sam to tell you more about our website and the document that we offer there.
Thank you very much, Nina. As we begin our conclusion, I'd like to give everyone a direction to our website at www.iata.org/SIS. Here, there are a plethora of documentation to help guide you through SIS and any issues you may have or questions. If you must, you can contact us at www.iata.org/CS for any inquiries you might have. Now, we move on to Vivek.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Nina, for your contributions today on this session. Thank you all, everyone, for joining us on today's session. We would just like to summarize a few points for you based on today's session. Please remember to enable and configure your options and settings in your member profile as you need to align with your business needs and other special requirements, legal or otherwise. Please remember future updates may take effect in future periods, so please enable those options now if you wish to receive them as soon as possible. Another point to note, any changes to bank details and other important participation details, you will need to contact us via IATA customer portal through the participation team. And as well, for any questions with regards to any of the functionalities, options, or settings you've seen today, as Sam mentioned, please contact us via the customer portal. You can raise a case or query with us with the SIS category. You can chat with our customer service folks who will be glad to assist you as soon as we can, and give us a call as well if it's something urgent that you need help with. As we wrap up today's session, would like to just advise we have no questions, and that may be a good thing, as we would take that as full understanding from all of our participants, and we thank you all for your attention today. We see we've had great attention on today's session, so we really hope that today's session was helpful, beneficial to you and your teams. Please be sure to share this webinar when we send it and distribute it to you via email. We do have copies of your emails for those of you who registered. We will send you copies of the webinar presentation YouTube link, as well as any answers to questions we may have received outside, which we do not have right now. So we will send everyone all the content, which is always published on our website under the media tab that Sam showed us. You can always find it under the media tabs there. And share this session with your colleagues internally. Feel free to share with your finance and IT teams, and share the word of what SIS can do for you and your teams. So really appreciate again your attendance and participation today. For any future webinars, please send us suggestions of your topics that you may need help with. Anything that you find maybe a knowledge gap for you and your teams, please send us a query through the customer portal requesting us to possibly host one of those topics in a future webinar as well. And with that, we will conclude today's webinar. Thank you all again so much for joining. Have a great day, evening, and night. Bye-bye.